Welcome everyone. Kick off our CMMC Level 1 mock assessment. Excited, we have 6 players signed up to role play how to do a Level 1 mock assessment. I want to see how the pros do it. We started this series because we wanted to bring the CMMC Level 1 requirements to life, show how it's done. Over the last couple of years, we've been talking a lot about CMMC. Let's see how they actually do it. I think that's the best way to learn. Disclaimer, even though I am a lead CMMC certified assessor, I'm not your lead assessor. So any of this information that's shared is just for informational purposes only. Don't sue Aspire Cyber if you implement something incorrectly. Aspire Cyber, we do specialize in helping defense contractors prepare for their CMMC Level 2 certification assessments. And since the rule has went into effect last month, we've seen a lot of increased activity where defense contractors are actually making an investment to get ready for their assessments. So that's exciting. The assessment tools we'll be using today is CMMC Proof, a compliance acceleration system, which is a tool Aspire Cyber developed to help facilitate the assessments. Also, we'll be doing audience feedback. So for those of you who are in attendance, you actually get to participate in terms of answering the poll, determining if the organization seeking certification actually satisfied the requirements. So you get the vote. And also, high-level overview about a Level 1 self-assessment. It consists of federal contract information. That's what's in scope for the Level 1 self-assessment. All other assets are out of scope, and there are 15 requirements. There are no documentation requirements for defense contractors that are submitting that CMMC Level 1 attestation that they are in compliance, but it is an attestation that must be submitted by someone senior in the organization that a senior official that's attesting that that defense contractor is safeguarding FCI per the CMMC Level 1 requirements. They're going to enter those results in the SPRS. There is no POAM. That means all 15 requirements have to be met, and the defense contractor is responsible for retaining their self-assessment results for 6 years. Also, for Level 1, since all requirements must be met, there technically is not a SPRS score for Level 1. Next up, so we're going to meet the players. Going to go in order, starting with the organization seeking assessment. Isabel, quick introduction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isabel Rivera. I'm the founder and CEO of Pentax. We're basically a small CMMC consulting firm out here in Tucson, Arizona. Our bread and butter is usually engineering, manufacturing, construction companies that have a CMMC requirement that are under 100 employees and under. There we go. So yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Next up.
Yeah, hi everyone. Myself Prabhat Nigam, Global CTO for Golden 5. We are Microsoft AOSG partner. I'm also RP, and the organization is RPO as well, listed in CyberAB. So we are providing Microsoft GCC High licenses, Azure Gov subscriptions. Not only that, helping DoD contractors with the migrations, customization, MSP support, and whatnot with some of our compliance tools as well.
Thanks.
Hi, good morning. I'm Nancy Laney, founder and CEO of Peak Compliance. I am an RPO, and we are excited to be participating in your exercise this morning.
Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing? Ryan Williams. So by day, I am a federal contractor for the Housing and Urban Development Office of the CIO. So I work for a company called ButtleBot, and I am on a contract called AgileBot, right? Agile Defense and ButtleBot. And then I am on their independent verification validation team. But at night and weekends, I started my own company called RAM Cyber, which focuses on assessments and consulting when it comes to cybersecurity. I focus right now mostly on NIST and other frameworks. However, I'm now trying to dip my toe into CMMC, so I appreciate this opportunity, and hopefully Q1 I'll have my CCP.
Yeah, looking forward to celebrating that with you. Welcome.
No doubt.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sushant. I'm a certified CMMC professional along with CISSP. Having been in the industry for the last 15 years, I have built a product business in past and are now looking forward to build a service business under the name DT Cyber Consulting. That's my practice name. And basically, I'm looking forward to contribute and learn from this community.
Hey, everyone. I'm Arthur Poole. I work as a staff cybersecurity engineer for a major retail company in the United States. I've started a line of consulting, Poole Technology Consulting. in which I offer risk management, email security, business continuity services to medium and small size companies. And we're currently positioning ourselves for CMMC services and government contracts. So this is more of a discovery phase for Poole Technology Solutions. So glad to be here.
Nice. All right. So as you can see, we have some rock star players today with a wealth of experience. However, don't be intimidated by that. You don't have to have CMMC experience to participate. Definitely welcome you to sign up and play for future assessments. Okay, let's get into it. In regards to the assessment plan, I'll do a quick overview. Essentially, the way it will work in a real assessment, there'll be a kickoff meeting where they introduce their team, meet the organization seeking assessment, and then give them an overview of what their approach is going to be to complete the assessment. So this shows you that these are the domains for CMMC Level 1 and the associated requirements. Now, keep in mind for each of the requirements, there are assessment objectives that must be met in order for the requirement to be met. And we'll demonstrate that during the assessment. The assessment team will close out by presenting their findings during the out brief and allowing OSA to provide any clarification. That being said, let the games begin. I'll ask the representative for GuardiaTech to just give us an overview about your company.
That'll be me. I am the CEO of GuardiaTech. Our logo is an owl. We are a small engineering firm that is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Our primary customer is Sandia National Laboratories, if you've ever heard of them. Our bread and butter is we receive statements of work from Sandia National Laboratories that detail specific requirements on development of physical sensors. That is our deliverable for Sandia National Laboratories. Our entire facility does handle FCI or is within the FCI scope. Our IT infrastructure is we have a blend, like a hybrid environment, some on-prem solutions, as well as utilization of cloud products, with the main focus being Microsoft. We do have an internal small IT department of maybe 1 to 2 individuals. We utilize no CUI enclave. Our main focus will be CUI. Our players in the game within our company, GuardiaTech, we have our CTO, which is Prabhat, and Nancy is going to be our Chief Information Security Officer.
How cool is that owl? Like, y'all even created a logo. So that's pretty impressive. I like it. Now, what I'll ask you to just kind of give a high-level overview of the network diagram that you created for GuardiaTech.
I'm happy to do that. Hi, I'm Nancy, the CISO. So as you can see, we have defined our network diagram here. We have defined inside our boundary. We have Microsoft 365. We also have internally a small network. We have 10 users that are FCI users, and we have 8 that are not. You can also see in our diagram that we have 2 remote users that access FCI. We also have Azure VPN Gateway that those remote users are using. And then you can see we also have Azure Defender in our environment. We also utilize Azure AD for privileged identity management, along with Intra ID to enforce MFA. As you can see, we have Microsoft Email, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and then we also utilize Azure Backup as our data repository for our backups. On-prem, we have 3 file servers, including an AutoCAD SQL database. And you can see we have an on-prem firewall that we use to block external non-authorized traffic. I'll save the VLAN segmentation for later. Thank you. Any questions on our network diagram? What's in scope?
Any questions from the assessment team about the diagram?
No, diagram looks really clean. Thank you.
Really impressive. So for the attendees today, this session, y'all are it's an extra bonus. We normally don't get a network diagram for the fictitious defense contractors. Yeah, GuardiaTech, clearly they're ready.
You're welcome.
Let's do it. Okay, assessment team, you are up. So I'll navigate the requirements. We're going to start with.
Good afternoon, team GuardiaTech. Basically, thank you for taking time to participate in this level 1 assessment. Our team and my role will be assessor, and we will be evaluating your compliance under 6 domains and 17 controls. We will be focusing specifically on FCI. One of the important things which we will be doing over this assessment is reviewing evidences, conducting some interviews with key personnel who have implemented those controls, and also observing the processes, some type of verification on the implementation and follow-up questions. One important thing which we need to note here is this is not a consulting kind of approach. We are looking forward to just understand what your current infrastructure look like, what are the controls in place, and identify gap. We will not reveal any guidance in those questions. And with that said, I will hand over to Ran for starting with the access control domain. Ran, over to you.
Hey, good morning. So, Ryan Williams. So prior to us meeting, during our kickoff, I received your documentations, right? So I have some questions concerning your access control policies and your procedures, and that'll help us along our way down the checklist. So when it comes to the review and updating of your policies, how frequently do you guys take care of that?
That's a quarterly review.
And is there a steering committee or a CAB or something to that effect when it comes to your change management policy?
It's three of us, CTO, CISO, and CEO. We all review that and we pass this. As you can see, we are a small organization of 20 people. So I think these three are the enough roles to take care of these kind of requirement.
Okay, and I like that you've clearly identified the roles and the key players and stakeholders within your corporation. And when we're talking about your diagram, you also broke down in very great detail 20 or so key employees, the 8 with the FCI access, 10 without, and then 2 remote employees. I think I got those factors correct.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, so that's great. So we've identified those players. We've talked about your key stakeholders. When it comes to authorization of those employees, how they access that information, is there a specific IAM standard practice procedure or process in place to keep people kind of from mingling within that data?
No, it's fully structurally designed. So based on their job role and the customer interaction, it is defined that they're going to be accessing what kind of data. So it's all managed by our software Neo in the processing of it. However, it's at the first hiring in place when they're hired, the HR put them in the right department, and then our automation tool Neo picks it up and gives an opportunity for their manager to review if they're getting the right access or not, and the manager approves it. In that case, the manager is responsible for that he say yes or no to the correct controls. If they have not given the right controls, manager has to rectify that and then give the correct controls, and that's how it will be automatically provision the access with the group level permissions.
Okay, and then that's great. Thank you for that great summarization, and as well as all of your very detailed documentation that you provided. So that's greatly appreciated. So when it comes to the next section, right, your transaction and functional controls, you've defined that it's all FCI focused.
Yes.
And what I understand is that during your onboarding process, right, like your HR puts people in the right buckets and then provides them the proper accesses. What about when it comes to devices and those that are issued to your employees?
So the devices are part of the inventory based on the user. If the user is part of that ecosystem FCI, so your FCI supported devices are provided, and it's again the auto mapping of the device in the Neo software for the inventory list, and it gets the right device to the right person. So we already have the inventory, available inventory. So in that case, if a user has to work in the FCI data, it's supposed to get the more secure TPM2 device and also TAA authorized device, not made in some other country. So that's all being factored and auto assignment of the devices. However, now the next question is how you secure it. So then we have Azure AD joint devices, which are also managed by Microsoft Intune device management software, and also the policies are configured to safeguard and block the access, BitLocker for the encryption and everything to protect the device as well. So that's how we the devices.
That's great. The follow-up to those devices would be to the parameters of those devices and the people who are on them when it comes to continuous monitoring. How do you guys take care of that? Is there a SOAR, a SIEM type of configuration? Like, how are you guys doing the continuous monitoring?
We have SIEM solution. We have SIEM solution implemented on premises, and our IT team monitors the logs and act on that as a managed solution, and it is integrated with N65 as well. So all the logs it pulls up from there.
I can jump in there real quick. We use Nectar as a on-premise SIEM solution as well as for our vulnerability scanning. So it's on-premise. We integrate it with our Microsoft 365, and that creates the automation of ingesting the logs for our dashboards, for our reports, for our scanning. So I was waiting to get to that control to jump into it, but
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
no, you're the assessor. Here's the information. So yeah, we do utilize Nectar.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and that highlights that a lot of the requirements do overlap. So yeah, you'll notice you have the same controls for many of the that will satisfy many of the requirements. So Ryan, let's
Right.
close out with the public information, FCI.
Oh, absolutely. So when it comes to, because again, we're focusing on the SCI portion. You said pretty much the entire facility is in use of FCI or type of usage or exposure, things of that nature. So individuals authorized to post or process information on publicly accessible systems are identified. So when it comes to your policy and procedures, have those key roles been identified? And then how are these people assigned to those roles?
Yeah, so first thing we wanted to mention that public-facing systems. So we do not have much on that public-facing system. Public-facing systems are company website, LinkedIn profile, and those are the pretty basic things. And anything going there is we have an approval process from the compliance management team where our CISO reviews that anything going out, they review and approve it. That's the first thing I want to mention. Every FCI document is tagged and labeled as FCI document. And so anytime you open FCI document or a SharePoint repository, the first thing you will see on that as a home page, the first page is it is the FCI document. So obviously when you're opening, anyone in the team is opening who has access to it, they know that this is FCI document. So they're not going to be using it for just unauthorized sharing purpose. That has been taken care and tagged. And then if at all we find it's mistakenly posted, then we have the protocol that no matter what day it is, it's a Christmas day or it's a marriage day or whatever it is, we have to act immediately on that. So carry your damn laptop device with you anytime you are traveling because of your certain roles you're handling and certain kind of data you're handling. Obviously, don't take that outside US for sure, but then everything within the US, just that's how we have for these kind of emergency alerts or sequence issues. So if anything posted by mistake, the team will be responsible to take it down immediately as soon as it is identified.
No, awesome. So that pretty much concludes all of my questions for this specific domain. If I have any follow-ups, I'll let you know. And yeah, see you again for the physical protection piece.
Right. Yeah. Way to kick off the assessment. So now it's the audience opportunity to vote. And let's see what your thoughts are as far as how well GuardiaTech responded. I'm going to do a poll that should pop up on your screen asking if you feel that they have met the access control requirements. Those 4 requirements that are part of the access control domain. While you answer during the actual real assessment, if a defense contractor is bringing an assessor in to do their level 1 self-assessment, then that assessor would likely ask for evidence to give them the assurance that the requirements are met. And they're also going to go by each assessment objective to make sure that each one is met before they can mark this requirement is met. But obviously, we only have 1 hour to do this, so we're giving you the brief, high-level overview. Let's see if we got any vote 10 responses. We got 100%. Y'all are betting 1,000. So far, so good. All right, let's go move on to the next domain, which is going to be identification and authentication. Who's up?
Hey, thank you. I'm Arthur Poole, here to perform the CMMC Level 1 assessment. We're focusing on the 6 critical domains and the 17 requirements, protecting the FCI and ensuring compliance with DoD requirements. I want to ask you a few questions about the authentication and identification a part of the assessment. In regards to your users, I understand that you have an AD environment within your infrastructure. Can you tell us a little more about how those users are identified today?
So all the users who need the FCI access or not access, it's the teams who's hiring, their manager is identifying what the access level they needed. Based on that, they approves their group membership in our Neo software where onboarding and offboarding happens. So at the beginning of their hiring or provisioning process, we identify that which user is going to be working in which project, or if there's a change, definitely they can come back and later do that changes. But then in the beginning, they identify the user at the time of hiring process and review and approve it in our software. And according to that, they also provide their inventory for work, location, secured facility, VPN access, and obviously the guidelines for in case they are going to travel with their laptops, or then what are the guidelines, like for example, definitely no public access. Always work if in case you're not in the office and willing to work remotely one day, obviously you can work, but make sure that you have a wall. When you open a laptop, it should be wall facing, not window facing. There should be no one passing by from your back, no kids, family, friends, and no public cafe access, or recommended not to use that, not to use the public Wi-Fi's, use the paid Wi-Fi's, or carry the company owned Wi-Fi devices with you. For example, you're traveling to customer site, make sure you get there safe and secure Wi-Fi. So these are the guidelines we share with them as well. And obviously, all devices are managed through Intune device management, and we are getting them monitored. And also, we have the Defender for endpoint security and to take care of their security and configurations.
Thank you. How about when identifying the user is authenticated? How are we establishing practices to verify if a prerequisite to a system access has been made?
So that's part of the Intune to make sure that system is already doing it is satisfying the compliance levels. For example, the disk C drive or D drive, whatever they have, and all the disk, they are encrypted using BitLocker. That's one of the requirements of the device. If that device is not ready, then they cannot open any of the data. That's the compliance failure, and nothing opens or work for that user in this case. Similarly, device has to be the Azure AD joined and not the registered device. So if it's not joined, then it will not work for the users. And then we have implemented Windows Hello, so they have a kind of a fingerprint or Face ID enabled, so they're getting the multi-factor authentication on their device. And also, if they are using cell phones, and we have also configured the mobile threat enables and protects our data even in mobile devices or laptops, and they are regularly updated with the Intune and the auto update policies.
Awesome.
Thank you. In the case where there's any deprovisioning or discrepancy of some sort in the identification of those users, can you tell us about a process that kind of speaks to any anomalies found during that process?
So it's very simple. If any anomalies found, like for example, if the device is not responding well and not connecting to the Intune database or Azure AD, then obviously the initial process is that they will use the Windows Hello. So if at all it's not connecting, not reporting after a certain time, we have the opportunity and option to format the device remotely or mark it lost, and that user and remotely restart the device and all that. So as soon as it's in connection, it can do that. In case we lock out the device, the user cannot open any of the disk or because it's BitLocker locked. We have rigorously tested this with the configuration with BitLocker and Intune, that we tested a couple of devices that someone could take off and try to unlock with third-party softwares and everything. Nothing worked out, and it's a very foolproof and reviewed process that BitLocker locks it, and Intune is managing that. If it's locked, if a user is blocked, and they cannot access it. As simple as that.
Thank you for the details. That wraps it up for me for the identification and authentication section. I'll pass it on to Sushant to speak to the media protection.
Thank you.
Before we jump into media protection, we'll do a quick poll of the audience, see what are their thoughts, whether they satisfy the IA requirements. Yes, no, maybe so, or unsure. We're at 100% of yes. Right, rocking and rolling. Okay, well prepared. Let's see how they do on media protection.
Amazing.
So,
Now we are moving on to media protection domain, and we have one control which we want to assess in media protection domain. Before I begin with the assessment question, I would like to understand, like, have you identified the potential instances where the system media is getting disposed or reused?
We do both. We do disposal or reuse depending on the needs of the organization. And based on that, we have our media sanitization and destruction policy that details how we do one or the other. I don't know if you want me to jump into it or you want to ask a question.
Yeah, I can go for a question then. So can you explain me the processes you follow to ensure that the system media which contains FCI is sanitized or destroyed before disposal? And that will talk about the assessment objective A.
Okay. So our policy details, first of all, we have a chain of custody. Once our IT, in conjunction with the approval process, identifies that our hard drives or USB drives that we utilize on our system are going to be destroyed, we have a destruction box and a sanitization box that's kind of labeled, and it stays in there locked until we're ready to move forward with the process. When we are ready to move forward with the process on the destruction side, it is verified and signed off that we ensure that all media is encrypted via BitLocker for data protection at rest. For destruction, we take an inventory sheet marking down all the information from serial number and the date and time it leaves the facility. It is signed off by our three parties, the CISO, the CTO, and the CEO. It leaves the facility in a secured with a third-party provider. We utilize Iron Mountain for GuardiaTech. When it is received there, they then take another inventory to ensure that what we received on our chain of custody receipts and what they received is equal. When they destroy, we ensure prior to signing a contract with Iron Mountain that they are up to NIST 888 standards of what's detailed appropriate for destruction. Then we received a destruction certificate, and we have destruction certificate artifacts saved on our system for every time we destroy. Now, for sanitization, we follow along the same process. It's stored in a drawer. If it's labeled for reuse, what we do is we use a software or product called BitRacer. It is a paid per license, and we just pay as we need for the amount of drives that we want to reuse or sanitize for reuse. We follow the process, and again, BitRacer is up to the NIST 888 standard. Once it sanitizes, the products that we have chosen does provide a certificate of sanitization. We also store that for artifacts, and it is then relabeled, our hardware inventory is updated, and it is sent off for reuse within our facility.
Amazing. So you mean to say basically the erasure and encryption and destruction is happening according to NIST 888 standards guidelines?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. According to me, that meets your requirement.
Let's see what the audience thinks. GuardiaTech satisfy the media protection requirements based on the responses that Isabel provided. 2 assessment objectives: sanitizing the FCI before disposal, release, or reuse. I have 7 responses with yes. I'm confident going with Matt. That takes us to physical protection. Up for physical protection.
And I am back, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Appreciate it. So physical protection, right? 20 years in military. I've seen this as the hardest to enforce and the easiest to overlook. So I only have 4 questions. So that way we can get to some of the other goodness in this mock assessment. How does your organization verify and document the identities of individuals authorized physical access to sensitive areas?
Hi, this is Nancy. So right off the bat, when we onboard someone, we identify right away what physical access they need to the facility. Our facility has badge access control at every entrance. So in order to enter our secured facility, you have to have a badge. In addition, we have some secure doors that have physical key access. So if you're one of 4 specific roles identified that have access to the data center and some of the secured areas, then you'll be issued a key for those areas. And so we limit access only to those authorized individuals to the data center and to the secured areas. Any additional questions on that?
Yes. Well, so not for that. You actually answered 3 out of 4 of my questions. So excellent. I would say the fourth question being, how do you restrict access to critical equipment such as routers, switches, and other network devices like comm closets, things of that nature?
Those are the secured areas that are behind the doors with key access. So unless you have a physical key, you're not able to access those areas where the servers, routers, and switches are located.
Excellent. And are they under surveillance of any type?
A great question. We do have surveillance cameras that monitor the entrances of the building along with where the utilities enter the building.
Awesome. I think you pretty much hit all of the things at the top. And then I would just say, for your escort program, do you have escorts, and how do they enforce their walkabouts, bringing visitors in and out of the facility?
Oh, you bet. Great question. So when visitors enter the facility, there is a public waiting area that's secured. They're not able to proceed into the facility. There's a locked door there that requires badge access. In the waiting lobby, we have a system where they are able to log in and out. And the office manager who supervises that area, she's going to verify their photo ID that they are who they say they are. And then she notifies the person that they're there to visit to come down and escort them throughout their facility. That person then takes on the responsibility of escorting the visitor throughout the facility until they leave the premises.
Awesome. So the inner FSO USM inside of me is very satisfied with this portion of the assessment. Obviously, if this was real, I'd be able to walk around your facility as well. But virtually, I'm at peace. Thank you.
Actually, if you were real, you would be escorted around our facility.
There it is. Perfect.
Yeah. And then we have the system that they log into. It actually is a Microsoft Power app, and it creates the log for visitors. And then we maintain that log for 6 years.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, let's see what the audience thinks. I know that Ryan was impressed as a military veteran. That says a lot. But let's see what the audience thinks. It'll be a little tougher. Launch our poll.
Yeah, the log system has the photo taking ability, so that also takes the photo of the visitors. Just to add that, so that to make sure who visited, if you have to go back and check, so you have the picture ID, the picture as well.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm back to speak to the system and communications protection domain. In regards to the external system boundary, how is this defined today?
If you look at our network diagram, then you'll see we have both internal and external boundary defined. We have some external connections and cloud services that we utilize. In addition, on our local network, we have a guest network that's VLAN off, and it has separate segmentation that prohibits guests from having any access to our internal resources. You can see we have a firewall that's configured to block all unauthorized traffic. And so we're protecting against that. In addition, you can see that we are controlling any communications and blocking any communications from that guest Wi-Fi into internal, and that is secured. Do you have any specific questions besides that? Also, too, I will say that we have our firewall plus our switch, and all of that traffic is routed through our SIEM, which is collecting all of those logs, and we monitor that in our logs.
Got it. Well, yep, that answers my question about the inbound and outbound network traffic monitoring. So I appreciate that.
I think I mentioned earlier when I did an overview of the network diagram that we use a VPN for our remote connections also.
Great, thank you. So moving on to the protection of communications, how are these controlled at the external system boundary?
So we have our firewall configured to block all external traffic that's unauthorized. And so our VPN traffic is authorized, and we also have controls around where we're allowed to store FCI in external systems. So that is limited and controlled by policy, and you can see that we are limited on the number of external systems that we're allowed to store and process FCI. Mm-hmm. And those systems are authorized.
Okay. For communications that are leaving your environment, like electronic mail, How are you preventing data leakage for your communication channels, such as email?
So we have done a lot of security awareness training with our employees and our staff. And as you noted in our earlier overview, only 8 of our staff members have access to FCI. So those communications, those users that are doing any communication with FCI have additional training around securing that. And you'll see that through training and policy, we have strict controls around FCI, what's allowed to be communicated and to do it securely.
Consider more logical controls, such as data loss protection solutions that could help strengthen your environment in terms of that data leaving your environment also.
You bet. So we really look at where our data is hosted and how it's classified. And since our publicly accessible system is our website is hosted on a separate system, that is physically and logically separated from our network. So that prevents any data leakage that way. And then we do not allow the other information to be transmitted to other networks unless it's authorized and unless it is into an authorized system. And we have DLP turned on the firewall.
Yeah, as I mentioned that all the documents were labeled, which means they're labeled with the Azure Information Protection. All documents are with FCI are encrypted with the limited controls. So, for example, even if I deliver that document to a person who should not have the access, they will not be able to open that document because that is encrypted and not associated with that person. They cannot validate their authentication and fail to access that.
So thank you for the details.
Very impressive. All right, let's see what the audience thinks. Next poll, as far as we meet these requirements. Yes, no, maybe. We do got a couple maybes, and these requirements are really detailed. Nancy provided a ton of information, but yeah, it's kind of hard to track everything that was covered now. And then also maybe someone doesn't want y'all to have a perfect 100%. We don't know, but so far so good.
I did want to clarify on your B right there. We do not have a DMZ on our network because we hosted our website on a third-party host, and I might not have been clear about that. The SEP network for publicly accessible systems, the only thing is that guest Wi-Fi that is VLANed off.
Yeah, in that case, we could mark it as MAT or not MAT. Essentially, if we mark it as MAT, then Nancy would just provide the response she did. Same response, we mark it as NA. Awesome. Let's move on to the system and information integrity.
Amazing. So here's Sushant. We are going on this domain called System and Information Integrity. I do have some basic questions related to your existing process. Can you please explain me the process, how you are monitoring the flaws in your infrastructure and how you're monitoring CVEs and CWEs being recently
We have an on-premise SIEM solution that we use called Nectar. It is hosted within our environment on a server. How we utilize it is we set it up for detection for flaws as well as vulnerability scanning. We ingest all the logs. It integrates with Microsoft 365. We have a flaw remediation policy that basically states that scans are set to run on a weekly basis. If a flaw is detected, we open a ticket within our internal ticketing system to then notify IT and track the ticket. If the ticket is remediated and closed out, what we end up doing is running another manual scan just to make sure it clears out. And then that's how we kind of do the flow of detection. I think I answered it.
Just for the sake of time, we're going to move on to the last requirement, the system and file scanning. Just ask 1 or 2 questions, and we'll close, and then open it up for feedback.
Oh yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah, moving on to this requirement number 3, control ID like 3.14.5. What is the defined scan frequency for the periodic malicious scans?
Yeah, so our frequency is on a weekly basis, as well as real-time scanning is enabled for whenever files are downloaded, open, or executed. The tools we use for that are both Microsoft Defender and then Nectar for our weekly vulnerability scanning.
And how do you ensure that these scans are being performed on a timely manner? although you have set it? Like, how do you ensure it?
We have our CISO that verifies that all tools, not just with this control, but our other controls are running as it should. If it doesn't, then again, a ticket is opened up, remediation is completed to make sure the tickets function as they should in order to ensure the safeguarding and monitoring of FCI.
Right. And moving on to assessment objective C, that is like understanding when the real-time scanning is happening. So do you have all these settings put in your SIEM and endpoint protection detection response?
Yes, we have our Nectar solution set up, which is what we use for our SIEM. Since it integrates with Microsoft, when you use Windows Defender, those logs are just real-time integrated into it. And that's how we receive alerts if something was caught. And then again, the whole ticketing process is open up for remediation.
Amazing. Thank you for this information.
Thank you.
We'll close out the assessment portion. Brief moment for the assessment team to give your feedback for how you feel that GuardiaTech did. And then we'll open it up for the audience if they have any questions or feedback.
So the real-time malicious code scanning is happening. That's what I think we answered. Also, Windows Defender for endpoint is doing that for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I would just say that based upon, us having to create a fake company and then come together as assessors and pick what domains we want to kind of target. And it's a lot of theater based upon our experience. So I know people ask some really detailed, really good questions in the comments, and those would probably be hit, right? Instead of me asking you 4 physical security questions, I would ask you 40. I would have walked around your facility. So there's a lot more would have been done in real life. But I think to have condensed it down to 40 minutes as a team project, like, yay team. I think you guys did an amazing job creating your company.
Yeah, very impressive.
Very
You
impressive.
obviously
For sure.
took this serious. The GuardiaTech and the assessors. Isabel, give us some insight on the preparation that you all did for this.
So it's January, tax season's coming up. We're all busy. We did it last minute, last night, over 2 hours, and we just figured it out, talked through things, and met 30 minutes prior and good to go. Don't overthink it. Don't stress too much. Don't create evidence for the mock assessment. Just again, high level. We just kind of put it together, a little baby SSP, and that's what we're kind of using off to the side as we're answering questions. But yeah.
Well, definitely some rock stars, overachievers. I love it. Now, that's opening up to the audience. I know there are a lot of questions in the chat. What are your thoughts about this mock assessment? Also, how can we improve it? This is probably our Aspire Cyber's 4th time doing it, and all of the players, this is their first time doing it. So they look like they are professional actors and actresses, but yeah, they just assumed their roles and did it. That was impressive.
I think most of it is we have already implemented in our organizations, so it was pretty easy to adopt that and put together.
Yeah. I'm really impressed by GuardiaTech. Are you all hiring? We'd like to place to work.
Depends who is applying.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I think every mock assessment, I think every OSA is kicking up a notch for sure, providing the evidence, prep work, amazing. I think this was every week, I think we see improvements and have a better explanation, better answers. I mean, network diagram, providing that, amazing. Awesome job.
That was impressive. And I'm glad Tark, you chimed in because your group was the first ones to do the mock assessment. And I had a lot of technical issues on my end. It was just so many different things. So I really applaud you all for being the courageous ones, the first to jump in and do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. Truly, good job, Nancy, Isabel, and Ryan on the OSA. I'm supporter on the OSA side. I haven't done the assessors, but hopefully I'll sign up for the assessor one of these days. But yeah, great job for sure.
Absolutely. So we have about 5 more minutes. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Yes. Open floor.
So I think there were some questions in the chat. Anyone wants to address those? One of them come from Ed White. Would the assessor review their SSP prior to the assessment, or is this included in the assessment? This is the question for CCAs, I guess.
I think it would be prior to the assessment, the OSA would provide a preliminary interview questions. If you look at the new CAP that was recently released, it shows that. is a pre-assessment questionnaire happens, the SSP is shared. So that is what would go through that process.
I see some questions from Edgar. Did we address those?
I think I could not answer could not find a good answer to Inderjeet's question, any minimum duration for which footage should be, how long the footage should be preserved. I didn't see anything in the NIST documents, 800-171, that limits you to say, yeah, you have to have 90 days or 120. It doesn't specify the amount of days. But I think, at least my personal one, I've had clients save it at least for between 90 days to 6 months is what I have recommended.
I agree. 800-171 is not to that level of being prescriptive. However, as an assessor, I would want to see that the company has done a risk assessment and tied it to how they define how long they're going to retain that video footage. So some type of documentation where they are assessing the risk.
Had a question. He says, can you demonstrate how to document one determination statement when it is met? I can kind of give you some guidance on that. The first thing you want to do is talk about what you implemented and how you implemented it. And you're going to specifically want to reference what policies are governing that objective that you're working on. And then you're going to want to talk about what evidence you are maintaining and how you're monitoring that in an ongoing basis. And then you're going to want to talk about when it was approved and specifically mention your date, and then what evidence you're bringing forth for review for like in a governance meeting. So those would be some key points that you would want to include. I don't know if you guys have anything you wanted to add to that.
No, I think that's perfect. So I just put into the chat the link if any of you all want to sign up to play. Again, you don't have to be as experienced as our players today. I know they set the bar really high and it can be intimidating, but that we accept come one, come all. So whatever your experience level is, we'll just ask that you read the assessment guides before you play, and you and your team will work together. You're role playing, so no one's grilling you or asking for evidence at this point for this. Definitely invite you to play. That's the best way to learn, get that hands-on experience versus just staring at the assessment guides and wondering what it means. We're bringing these requirements to life. So please invite you all to join me in giving a virtual applause for our players. I think they did a remarkable job. Certainly reach out to them on LinkedIn or the best way to contact them. Pretty awesome. Clearly they know what they're doing and they are experts at this. That's how it's done. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, CMMC Proof Compliance Acceleration System.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by the complex world of CMMC compliance? You're not alone. Small to mid-sized defense contractors are often swamped by the massive list of requirements, unsure of where to begin, lacking resources, and fearing assessment failure. But there's a solution. CMMC Proof, your compliance acceleration system. Unlike typical GRC tools, CMMC Proof breaks down the process into 5 easy-to-follow phases, guiding you through each step of your compliance journey. With everything you need in one place, from CMMC Level 1 and 2 requirements to evidence tracking and more, you'll never feel lost again. Get CMMC compliant faster and easier than ever before. Our system ensures nothing is missed, saving you time and effort. Built by CMMC certified assessors with decades of experience, CMMC Proof delivers real-world expertise and guidance you can trust. By the time your assessment comes, you won't just be ready, you'll be confident. Visit CMMCproof.com to start your 7-day free trial and accelerate your CMMC compliance today.